Catherine's hands trembled as Judge Harrison spread the damning documents across her bench like a deadly hand of cards. Tyler sat beside his attorney, that arrogant smirk still plastered on his face, while his mother Barbara whispered poison in his ear from the row behind. They thought this divorce would be their final victory, another chance to humiliate the woman they'd spent 3 years destroying. Before we dive into this explosive courtroom showdown, smash that like button, subscribe to Formidable Revenge channel, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. You're about to witness the most savage legal takedown ever recorded. Your Honor, Tyler's lawyer announced with practiced confidence, my client believes Mrs. Catherine Walker may not be mentally stable enough to make rational decisions about these proceedings. She's been under tremendous stress and... Judge Harrison's eyes flashed dangerously. Mr. Walker, are you aware of what your wife has submitted to this court? The lawyer shuffled through his standard divorce papers, confusion creeping across his face. We received the typical filing, property division, spousal support. No. Judge Harrison's voice cut like a blade through the courtroom air. This is not typical anything. Catherine watched Tyler's smirk falter for the first time in months. Barbara stopped her malicious whispering. The first crack appeared in their fortress of lies. Judge Harrison lifted the first document, her voice echoing through the silent courtroom. Mrs. Walker has provided evidence of systematic financial fraud, tax evasion, and conspiracy spanning 3 years. Tyler's face drained of all color. Barbara's mouth fell open in shock. Furthermore, she has submitted recorded conversations, bank records, and photographic evidence of deliberate asset concealment and witness intimidation. The lawyer frantically flipped through papers. Your Honor, we weren't provided with any of this during discovery. Because Mrs. Walker filed these documents under court seal for her protection, given the potential for retaliation. Catherine felt a surge of power course through her veins. For 3 years, they'd called her weak, stupid, worthless. They had no idea that every cruel word, every twisted plan, every illegal scheme had been meticulously documented by the woman they'd underestimated. Tyler turned to stare at her, his face now white as bone. Barbara gripped his shoulder, her knuckles turning ghostly pale. This court has reviewed evidence of unreported income exceeding $75,000, Judge Harrison continued relentlessly. Forged signatures on banking documents. Recorded conversations detailing plans to hide marital assets and falsely claim mental incompetence. Tyler tried to stand but his lawyer yanked him down. Your Honor, surely there's been some mistake. The only mistake, Judge Harrison said, looking directly at Tyler and Barbara, was assuming Mrs. Walker was as naive as you believed her to be. Catherine allowed herself the smallest smile. They'd spent years calling her their helpless little victim. But predators should remember that even the quietest prey can learn to hunt. Barbara was visibly shaking now, sweat beading on her forehead. Tyler kept glancing between Catherine and the judge like he was watching his world collapse in real time. But this was only the beginning of their destruction. 3 years earlier, Catherine had believed she was living a fairy tale. Tyler Walker was everything she'd dreamed of, charming, successful, with the kind of smile that made her forget her own name. When he proposed after 8 months, she said yes before he finished asking. The warning signs blazed like neon, but love had made her blind to every red flag. During their engagement, Barbara inserted herself into every wedding decision. She replaced Catherine's chosen flowers, rewrote the menu, and even attempted to alter the wedding dress because it was too flashy for a proper wife. When Catherine protested, Tyler dismissed her concerns with a casual shrug. She's just excited. She's waited years for me to settle down. Catherine told herself marriage would create boundaries. She was catastrophically wrong. 2 days after their honeymoon, Barbara arrived with suitcases and a moving truck, announcing she was moving in to help them adjust to married life. Instead of protecting his new bride, Tyler embraced his mother and declared, "Perfect timing, Mom." Catherine could use guidance running a proper household. Catherine hadn't just married Tyler, she'd signed her life over to his mother. Barbara immediately colonized Catherine's kitchen, discarded her belongings as cheap-looking, and posted a cleaning schedule with Catherine's name dominating every chore. Tyler works hard providing for this family, she explained when Catherine objected. The least you can do is maintain his home. His home. Never their home. Within weeks, Catherine was cooking breakfast for both of them, packing Tyler's lunches, handling all household duties while managing her part-time accounting business from home. Barbara spent her days on the couch watching soap operas, periodically shouting orders. Catherine. The bathroom needs scrubbing. Catherine. Tyler's shirts need pressing. Catherine. Dinner better be ready by 6 sharp. When Catherine finally confronted Tyler, he laughed, actually laughed, at her distress. You're being dramatic. She's helping you become a better wife. You should be grateful. Grateful. For being treated like hired help in her own home. Barbara began inviting friends over to showcase her training success. Catherine served tea while they discussed her like furniture. Tyler did well finding a girl who knows her place, one woman commented. Catherine's very obedient, Barbara replied proudly. She's finally learning proper wifely duties. Tyler encouraged this humiliation, asking his mother daily progress reports about Catherine's behavior. Did Catherine remember to start the roast on time? Did she clean the baseboards properly? Was she respectful when you corrected her? Catherine was disappearing, piece by piece. The confident businesswoman who'd run her own accounting firm was being replaced by someone who apologized for breathing too loudly. Her friend stopped calling because she was never available. Barbara ensured Catherine was too busy to speak with her distant family. The isolation was surgical, calculated, complete. You're so lucky having us take care of you, Barbara would coo with false sweetness. Without Tyler, you'd probably live in some rat-infested apartment, surviving on instant noodles. Tyler nodded along religiously. Mom's right. You should appreciate what you have here. Catherine tried desperately to earn their approval, working harder, cleaning better, cooking more perfectly. But nothing satisfied them. Nothing ever would. 2 months before filing for divorce, Catherine discovered why her efforts were doomed to fail. The trap was set on a Tuesday morning when Barbara announced they'd be hosting someone special for dinner. She glowed with excitement while shoving Catherine out of the kitchen to cook personally, something Barbara never did. Who's coming? Catherine asked, genuinely puzzled. Someone very important, Barbara replied with a mysterious smile. Someone who'll remind Tyler what a real woman looks like. Catherine's stomach dropped, but she forced herself to dismiss the growing dread. When the doorbell rang, Barbara rushed to answer it, her voice sugary with false warmth drifting from the hallway. Tiffany. Oh, you look absolutely stunning. Come in, come in. The woman who entered Catherine's dining room was everything Catherine wasn't, tall, blonde, perfectly styled, wearing a dress that cost more than Catherine's monthly expenses. She was also at least 5 years younger. Tyler. Barbara called sweetly. Come meet Tiffany. Jennifer's daughter from my book club, you remember her, don't you? Tyler emerged from the living room, his face lighting up in a way it hadn't for Catherine in months. Wow, Tiffany. You've really grown up. She giggled like a teenager. Thank you, Tyler. Your mother has told me so much about you. Catherine stood frozen, holding dinner plates, completely invisible. Barbara hadn't even acknowledged her existence. Catherine, Barbara finally said, like she'd just remembered Catherine lived there. Put those down and get our guests drinks. Tiffany, what would you prefer? Wine, soda, whatever your heart desires? Wine would be lovely, Tiffany purred, settling into Catherine's usual chair. Catherine served dinner while the three of them bonded like old friends. Barbara systematically highlighted Tyler's achievements, his promotion, his success, his bright future. Tiffany absorbed every word, asking questions, and showering Tyler with compliments. You must be so proud being married to such an accomplished man, Tiffany said to Catherine during dessert. Before Catherine could respond, Barbara interjected. Oh, Catherine knows how fortunate she is. Don't you, Catherine? Catherine nodded and smiled while screaming internally. This wasn't casual dinner conversation, this was a job interview. Barbara was auditioning Catherine's replacement right in front of her. After Tiffany left, Barbara couldn't contain her excitement. Isn't she wonderful? So beautiful, so charming, from such a successful family. Her father owns 5 auto dealerships. Tyler nodded appreciatively. She seems nice. Nice? Barbara laughed. She's perfect. And she's single, just broke up with her boyfriend last month. Catherine was washing dishes but heard every calculated word. They weren't even attempting to hide their intentions. Mom, Tyler said, but he sounded interested, not upset. I'm just saying, a man like you deserves a woman who truly appreciates him. Someone who can give you the life you deserve. Catherine spun around from the sink. Excuse me, but I'm standing right here. Barbara looked at her like she was an insect that had crawled from the garbage disposal. Yes, Catherine, we can see you. We're not blind. Then maybe stop discussing my replacement while I'm in the room. Tyler's face darkened with anger. Nobody's discussing replacing you. You're being paranoid. Am I? Because it sounds like your mother is already planning your next wedding. Barbara stood up, her face flushed with rage. How dare you speak to me like that? After everything I've done for you. What exactly have you done for me besides make my life miserable? That's when Barbara revealed her true nature, and everything changed forever. Barbara's composure shattered completely, her fake sweetness evaporating into pure venom. I've tried to make you into a decent wife, but you're hopeless. You're weak, you're ungrateful, and you're not worthy of my son. Tyler didn't defend Catherine. He stood there watching like he was enjoying the show. Barbara's voice escalated to a shriek. Mark my words, Catherine, when Tyler finally comes to his senses and divorces you, you'll be sleeping under a bridge like the worthless trash you are. Tyler laughed, actually laughed at his mother's cruelty. And I won't even visit you there, he added with a smirk. That night, lying beside the man who'd just threatened to abandon her to homelessness, Catherine stared at the ceiling for hours. Their cruel words echoed endlessly, sleeping under a bridge, won't even visit you, worthless trash. But something else echoed too, a comment Barbara had made months earlier about Tyler being smart with money and finding ways to keep more of what he earned instead of giving it all to the government. At the time, Catherine assumed Barbara meant budgeting. Now she wondered if something darker was happening. The next morning, after they both left, Tyler to his construction job, Barbara to her weekly doctor's appointment for chronic back pain, Catherine found herself alone for the first time in weeks. She started with Tyler's locked home office, using the spare key he'd hidden behind a family photo. Inside his filing cabinet, she discovered folders she'd never seen, cash receipts for unreported side jobs, payments for weekend work he'd never mentioned. Thousands of dollars that should have appeared on tax documents but didn't. Her accounting background kicked in immediately. She began copying everything, organizing papers chronologically. The pattern was undeniable. Tyler had been hiding income for years. But Barbara's room held an even more shocking secret. Disability benefit statements showed monthly payments for Barbara's supposed inability to work due to chronic back pain. The same woman who'd spent yesterday rearranging all the living room furniture because she didn't like how Catherine had positioned it. Catherine remembered Barbara's regular disappearances for physical therapy and decided to investigate. 3 days later, when Barbara announced another therapy appointment, Catherine waited 10 minutes then followed. The address on Barbara's appointment card led to the correct building, but Barbara never showed up. After an hour, Catherine was ready to leave when she spotted Barbara's car at a small office building 2 blocks away. Through the window, Catherine watched Barbara sitting at a reception desk, answering phones and filing paperwork. The woman collecting disability for being unable to work was working a cash job. Catherine photographed everything with trembling hands. This was fraud, serious, federal fraud. But she needed more than financial evidence. She needed to understand their complete plan. That weekend, Catherine told them she was visiting her sister. Instead, she bought the smallest recording device available and hid it under the kitchen table where they always plotted. The next morning, she pretended to leave for work but parked around the corner and waited. After an hour, she crept back inside. What she heard from the kitchen would haunt her forever, but it would also become their destruction. "The divorce papers will come soon," Barbara was saying. "That little mouse doesn't have the backbone to stay married to a real man." "Good," Tyler replied. "I'm exhausted pretending to care about her feelings. Tiffany is so much more entertaining." Catherine's heart stopped. Tyler was already seeing Tiffany behind her back. "Just make sure you hide the cash from those weekend jobs," Barbara continued. "If Catherine discovers that money, she might try claiming half." "Already handled," Tyler said smugly. "I moved everything to accounts under your name. As far as any lawyer knows, I only make my regular salary." "Smart boy. And I'll make sure everyone knows how unstable she's been acting, talking to herself, forgetting things. By the time we're finished, no judge will believe anything she says." Catherine had to cover her mouth to prevent gasping. They were planning to make her appear mentally ill to steal money that was legally half hers. "What about the house?" Barbara asked. "She can't afford payments on her pathetic part-time income," Tyler laughed. "She'll be forced to sell, and I'll buy it back cheap through a friend. She'll walk away with almost nothing." "Perfect. Then you and Tiffany can start fresh without any baggage from your first mistake." First mistake. That's how Tyler saw their marriage, a mistake to be erased. Catherine snuck out and sat in her car, trembling with rage and something else she hadn't felt in years, power. They thought she was weak and stupid, but their little mouse had just recorded them confessing to multiple felonies. She drove straight to the library and researched divorce attorneys who specialized in fraud cases. Most wanted retainers she couldn't afford or seemed interested in quick settlements rather than justice. But then she found Robert Sterling. His office was cluttered and modest, nothing like the expensive firms downtown. But when Catherine played the recording, his eyes lit up with professional excitement. "Mrs. Walker," he said, leaning back in his chair, "your husband and mother-in-law just handed you the keys to their destruction. Do you understand what you have here?" Catherine nodded, though she didn't fully grasp the implications yet. "This isn't just divorce anymore," Robert continued. "This is criminal fraud, tax evasion, and conspiracy. We're not just getting you a fair settlement, we're making sure they face consequences." Robert explained they needed more evidence. The recording was excellent, but they required documentation, bank records, tax returns, proof of Barbara's fraudulent work, evidence of Tyler's hidden income. "Can you access his computer?" Robert asked. Catherine thought about Tyler's laptop left on the kitchen counter nightly. "Yes, but I don't know his passwords." Robert smiled knowingly. "You'd be surprised how uncreative men like your husband are. Try birthdays, anniversaries, his mother's name." That night, after they went to bed, Catherine crept downstairs to Tyler's laptop. The first password she tried, Barbara's birthday, worked perfectly. What she discovered made her physically sick but also filled her with deadly determination. Email after email between Tyler and Tiffany, chronicling their 3-month affair that predated the dinner charade. Messages full of future plans and cruel jokes about Catherine. But the worst revelation was still to come. The emails between Tyler and Tiffany were nauseating. "Can't wait until the divorce is final," Tiffany had written. "Then we can finally be together without hiding." "Soon, baby," Tyler replied. "My lawyer says Catherine won't get much. She's too stupid to fight for anything meaningful." But Catherine found something that made her hands shake with pure rage, an email thread between Tyler and someone named Marcus about moving money offshore where divorce proceedings couldn't trace it. "Make sure everything's clean by next month," Tyler had written. "The mouse is getting suspicious." The mouse. That's what he called her in private messages. Catherine printed everything and saved copies to a flash drive, but then discovered something that nearly broke her resolve: photographs. Tyler had been secretly photographing her around the house, but not normal pictures. pictures designed to make her look mentally unstable. One showed her apparently talking to herself while cooking, but Catherine remembered that moment. She'd been on a work call with her headset. Another captured her looking confused and disheveled right after waking from a nap. Tyler had been building a portfolio of evidence to destroy her credibility. The next day, Catherine called Robert with her discoveries. He remained quiet for a long time. "Catherine," he finally said, "I've practiced law for 25 years, and I've never seen anything this methodical. They weren't just planning to divorce you, they were planning to completely destroy your life." Robert hired private investigator Linda Torres, a former police detective who specialized in financial crimes. Despite her grandmother-like appearance, Linda was ruthless at following money trails. Linda discovered Tyler had been hiding income for 4 years, totaling over $85,000. She also found proof Barbara had been working her cash job for 18 months while collecting fraudulent disability benefits. Here's the interesting part, Linda told them during a secret meeting at a downtown coffee shop. Barbara's been depositing some of Tyler's hidden money into her personal accounts. She's not just helping him commit fraud, she's stealing from him too. Catherine almost felt sorry for Tyler. Almost. Linda also investigated Tiffany and uncovered a devastating secret: she was married to an active-duty Marine deployed overseas. She was committing adultery with Catherine's husband while her military spouse served his country. "We could contact her husband," Linda suggested. "Military justice handles adultery very seriously." "Save that for when we really need leverage," Robert advised. Meanwhile, Catherine had to maintain her charade at home. It was the hardest performance of her life, making breakfast for the people plotting her destruction, listening to them joke about her future homelessness. But now every cruel word was being documented. They thought they were brilliant, but they had no idea their victim was building an airtight case against them. The hardest part was watching Tiffany become a permanent fixture. She started appearing for dinner 3 times weekly, then 4, then almost nightly. Barbara would cook special meals for her while relegating Catherine to cleanup duty. One night, Catherine came downstairs for water and found Tyler and Tiffany kissing in her kitchen. They didn't even stop when they saw her. Tyler just smirked and said, "You might want to knock next time." In her own house. In her own kitchen. But every betrayal was being recorded, every insult documented, every crime captured by devices Linda had strategically placed throughout the house. The breakthrough came 2 weeks before Catherine planned to file. Barbara made a phone call that sealed both their fates. Catherine was folding laundry when she heard Barbara talking in the kitchen. The recording device captured every damning word. "Yes, Dr. Whitman, I need you to write a letter about Catherine's mental state," Barbara was saying. "She's been acting very strangely, talking to herself, forgetting things, having violent mood swings." Catherine's blood turned to ice. Dr. Whitman was Barbara's physician, the same doctor who'd been signing her fraudulent disability papers. "I know you don't usually treat her," Barbara continued, "but as a family friend, I'm sure you could write something based on my observations. Just state that in your professional opinion, she seems unstable and might not be capable of making sound financial decisions." Barbara paused, listening to his response. "Tyler will make it worth your while," she added. "The same arrangement we have for my back problems." Catherine had to sit down. They'd been bribing Barbara's doctor to fake her disability claims, and now they were trying to bribe him to lie about Catherine's mental health. This wasn't just fraud anymore, this was medical fraud and potential perjury. That night, Catherine, Robert, and Linda met to plan their final strategy. They had enough evidence to destroy both Tyler and Barbara, but timing was crucial. "We file Monday," Robert decided. "But we don't reveal any evidence until the final hearing. Let them think they're winning until the very end." "What if they try moving more money?" Catherine asked. "Let them," Linda grinned. "Every transaction they make now just adds to their criminal charges. They're so confident they're getting careless." The weekend before filing was surreal. Tyler brought Tiffany for dinner again, but this time announced she'd be spending the night. "Catherine can sleep in the guest room," he said casually. Tiffany and I need privacy to discuss our future. Barbara clapped like this was wonderful news. How romantic. You two are perfect together. Catherine packed a bag without protest and went to the guest room. Let them think they'd won. In less than a week, their entire world would collapse, and she'd be holding the sledgehammer. But Tyler wasn't finished humiliating her. Sunday morning, she found Tiffany wearing her bathrobe, cooking breakfast in her kitchen while Barbara praised her technique. You're such a natural homemaker, Barbara gushed. Tyler is so lucky to have found you. Tyler emerged from the bedroom Catherine shared with him, kissing Tiffany in front of his wife like she was already gone. Tiffany makes the best pancakes, he announced. So much better than that cardboard Catherine usually serves. They all laughed while Catherine poured herself coffee with steady hands. Every word was being recorded. Every insult was being documented. Every crime was being captured for the judge who would soon hear their confessions. Catherine, Barbara said sweetly, you should probably start looking for apartments. Maybe something near the downtown Mission so you'll have meals when you can't afford food. More laughter. More evidence. Monday morning, Catherine woke up early, dressed in her best suit, and kissed Tyler goodbye like any normal day. Have a good day at work, honey, she said with a smile. He had no idea he'd just seen his wife for the last time as a free man. Mrs. Walker has provided this court with bank records showing systematic concealment of income totaling $85,000 over 4 years, Judge Harrison announced, her voice cutting through the courtroom like a sword. Tyler's confident smirk vanished completely. Barbara gripped the bench behind him, her knuckles white with terror. Mr. Walker, are you aware that hiding marital assets constitutes criminal fraud? Tyler's lawyer was frantically whispering, but Tyler just stared at Catherine like she'd risen from the dead. Furthermore, Judge Harrison continued relentlessly, Mrs. Walker has submitted evidence that Mrs. Barbara Walker has been collecting disability benefits while working an undisclosed position at Whitman Medical Associates. Barbara made a choking sound, her face draining of all color. Your Honor, Tyler's lawyer stammered, we weren't aware of these allegations. They're not allegations, Judge Harrison interrupted sharply. Mrs. Walker has provided photographs, bank deposits, work schedules, and recorded conversations as evidence. She held up a thick folder, including recordings of both defendants discussing plans to hide assets, bribe a medical professional for false documentation, and deliberately mislead this court about Mrs. Walker's mental state. Tyler finally found his voice. That's impossible. Catherine doesn't have. Doesn't have what, Mr. Walker? Judge Harrison asked coldly. The intelligence to document your crimes? The courage to stand up for herself? The evidence to prove everything you've done? Catherine watched her husband's face crumble as reality hit him. The stupid little mouse had outsmarted them all. Dr. Whitman has already been contacted by the state medical board regarding fraudulent disability claims and his agreement to provide false mental health assessments, Judge Harrison continued. He's cooperating fully with authorities. Barbara started crying, real tears streaming down her face as her scheme imploded. The court has also been provided with evidence of adultery, including communications between Mr. Walker and one Tiffany Richardson, who is married to Staff Sergeant Mike Richardson, currently deployed with the Marine Corps. Tyler's face went from white to green. He hadn't known Catherine discovered Tiffany's marriage. Sergeant Richardson has been notified of the affair, Judge Harrison added. Military authorities take adultery very seriously. Robert stood up. Your Honor, given the extensive evidence of fraud, asset concealment, and conspiracy, we request all marital assets be awarded to Mrs. Walker, plus punitive damages for emotional and financial harm. Judge Harrison nodded grimly. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, you have the right to remain silent, but I must inform you that criminal charges are being filed. Tax evasion, benefit fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted perjury. Barbara collapsed into her chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Tyler stared at the table, his entire body trembling. This court awards Mrs. Catherine Walker full ownership of the marital home, all bank accounts, retirement funds, and vehicles, Judge Harrison announced. Additionally, Mr. Walker will pay spousal support of $2,500 monthly for 5 years. But she wasn't finished. Mrs. Barbara Walker, you are ordered to repay all fraudulently obtained disability benefits totaling $52,000. Both defendants are banned from contacting Mrs. Walker except through legal counsel. Catherine felt tears of relief streaming down her face. Furthermore, Mr. Walker's contractor's license is suspended pending criminal investigation. Mrs. Walker will face federal charges for benefit fraud. 2 police officers entered the courtroom as Judge Harrison finished reading the order. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, you're under arrest. Catherine watched in silent triumph as handcuffs clicked around Tyler's wrists. The man who'd threatened to leave her homeless was now the one facing imprisonment. Barbara was still sobbing as the officers read them their rights, her fake back pain mysteriously absent as she was led away. How? Tyler whispered as he passed Catherine's table, his arrogance finally replaced by fear and respect. Catherine stood and looked directly into his eyes. You called me a stupid little mouse, she said quietly. But you forgot that even mice can bite when they're cornered. Walking out of that courthouse felt like breathing for the first time in 3 years. The house was hers. The money was hers. Her future was completely her own. That evening, Catherine sat in her kitchen, truly her kitchen now, and called her sister to share everything. For the first time in years, she was alone in her home, and it felt like paradise. But the story didn't end there. Tyler was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for tax evasion and fraud. His construction business collapsed when his license was permanently revoked. Tiffany's husband filed for divorce and pressed military charges against both her and Tyler for adultery. She lost her military benefits and half her assets in her own divorce proceedings. Barbara received 2 years in federal prison for benefit fraud and conspiracy. She was ordered to repay over $75,000 in fraudulent benefits and fines. Dr. Whitman lost his medical license and faced his own criminal charges for participating in their schemes. 6 months after the trial, Catherine received an unexpected visitor. Robert Sterling arrived with news that made her smile. Tyler's been trying to contact you from prison, he said. Apparently, he wants to apologize and ask for forgiveness. What did you tell him? That you're not interested in his apologies, but you appreciate the monthly spousal support payments that are automatically deducted from his prison work program. Catherine laughed, the first genuine laugh she'd had in years. A year later, Catherine had transformed completely. She'd sold the house that held too many painful memories and bought a beautiful condo downtown. Her accounting business was thriving, and she'd even started dating again, a kind man named Andrew who treated her like the queen she'd forgotten she was. Sometimes she drove past the cheap apartment complex where Tyler was required to live after his release, working construction for minimum wage under court supervision. Barbara lived in subsidized housing, her dreams of grandeur replaced by food stamps and part-time work at a convenience store. The bridge they'd promised Catherine would sleep under remained empty, but their own lives had crumbled to nothing. On quiet evenings, Catherine would reflect on her journey from victim to victor. Tyler and Barbara had tried to destroy her, but instead, they'd forged something they never expected, a woman who knew her own worth and would never let anyone diminish it again. Justice had been served cold, calculated, and completely satisfying. The mouse had not only learned to bite back, she'd learned to roar. If this story of ultimate revenge inspired you, smash that like button, subscribe to Formidable Revenge channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Justice served cold tastes the sweetest.